Shalum and welcome. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening set-apart nation. In this series, EndTime Manifests, many people talk about a final exodus, a greater exodus. Many people talk about what shall we do since there will not be a pre-trib rapture. Times are ramping up, chaos is spreading, confusion is spreading. The one world government is gradually evolving to what is described in the scriptures. A one world currency has surfaced. Protocols are changing the way we do business. Our relationships are changing as some lose their jobs, some gain better jobs, some are coming away from the traditional work strategies. But I say to you, O Yashar'al, in the coming together of a set-apart nation, and the coming together of 144,000 in great multitude, as mentioned in Revelation 7 chapter, there are details and processes. There's much work to occur. In this walk, coming closer together, deciding what to do, which direction to take, how to respond, who to be around. There are many questions that are currently unanswered. And there are some that are answered, but they fall on deaf ears. It's time, O Yashar'al, that as we prepare to gradually start physically moving closer to one another, to that point where the Almighty Father has designated, let us learn how to identify the questions. If someone is asking you, what is the distance between the earth and the moon? Would that really have an effect on what you should be doing as end times ramp up? What are the reasons for the questions? If someone is asking questions that do not have any set apart reasoning behind it, just to start an argument, a debate, or spark confusion, then maybe that question should be set aside or disregarded. For all too often, we see questions without reasons that are fruitful to our growth. We see questions that cause distractions. My brothers and sisters, I'm going to take a moment to give an example of something I heard recently. I've listened to one creator's channel who say that the promised land is in sub-Saharan Africa. And I witnessed another brother prove that the promised land is between the Euphrates River and the Nile. Two conflicting, battling viewpoints. The scriptures never told us that we should just say, well, we all have our opinions. Anybody that say that we're fighting because we got a difference of opinion is divisive. That's a lie. And it fuels compromise. It's time for us to rise up and judge what is right and stand for what is right. Not scratch each other's back, quid pro quo, and say, well, we got our different opinion. The scriptures tell us to pursue perfection, to pursue what is right. I witnessed this brother give detailed instructions and information how the promised land is between the Euphrates in the Nile. And I witnessed this other channel say, well, I've done research for multiple years and books on top of books and tops of books. You have to do your research like I did mine. And whether he realizes it or not, by him being wrong, he's saying, so you can be seduced to believe in what is wrong. You see, my brothers and sisters, how many signs, how much evidence? These are questions. How much? How many? For how long must we go listening to conflicting messages? You see, throughout scripture, there was time when Yashar'al had to choose a side. We are ordered to pray and discern what the Almighty Father is saying, my brothers and sisters. You see, many among us desire to discover what is ahead during these final days. We want the truth, not a bastion of compromising opinions. We want to know what is expected. Allow me to present, my brothers and sisters, the importance of questions, reasons, and distractions. For if it's taking us down what I call a rabbit hole or a major distraction that is not pointed, that is not connected to what is set apart, do not fall for such misaligned directions. Questions, reasons, my brothers and sisters, distractions. We will learn how to navigate through all that is unfolding before us. Let's consider these words, O Yashar'al. Proverbs 1:22-33. Proverbs 1:22-23 says this: How long, you simple ones, would you love simplicity, and shall scoffers delight in the scoffing, and fools hate knowledge? You see, some people think knowledge is about comparing how much content you've researched versus discerning what is true. If a person has read 500 books, no matter what their dates are, if it does not connect with the teachings of the Almighty Father, with the set-apart life of the Almighty Father, it is unfruitful and a waste of time that cannot be regained. It says, turn at my reproof. See, I pour out my spirit on you. I make my words known to you, because I called you. I called and you refused, rather. Because I called and you refused. I have stretched out my hand and no one inclined. And you spurned all of my counsel and would not yield to my reproof. You see, instead of yielding to reproof, I see unwise individuals fostering compromise, believing in the word, let us agree to disagree. That is wicked. That does not have any support by any scripture whatsoever. To agree to disagree is accepting division. And any division among a house, among a family, has an appointment with death and destruction. For the scriptures read, no house divided against itself can stand. You see, my brothers and sisters, before we bear false witness or before we yield to hanging out because we have difference of opinion and not pursue what is true, doesn't make it right. It goes on to say, let me also laugh at your calamity, mock when your dread comes. When your dread comes like a storm, and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you, let them call upon me, but I answer not. Let them seek me, but not find me, because they hated knowledge and did not choose to fear Yahuah. They did not accept my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore, let them eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own counsel. For the turning away of the simple kills them, and the complacency of fools destroy them. But whoever listens to me dwells safely and is at ease from the dread of evil. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, so many scriptures. Even when we read that judgment begins at the house of Yahuah, that requires asking questions, examining, seeking to discern what is true and what's not. The conditions foretold regarding end times will prove the need to seek set-apart instructions. And to do so requires questions, identifying reasons behind the questions, identifying distractions and knowing when to come away from them. Come with me, O Yashar'al, to Proverbs 8:17. For it reads, I love those who love me, and those who earnestly seek me do find me. You see, my brothers and sisters, in earnestly seeking the Almighty Father, that means yielding to reproof and correction from time to time. How would you feel if you was walking down the street, going in the wrong direction, and a brother or sister directed you to go the other direction, and you disregarded that and walked into a storm, walked into destruction. Let us seek to discern those who are being led by the Almighty Father. Let us learn how to vet and ask questions and identify whether the matter is of the Almighty One or not. Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek first the reign of the Almighty One and his righteousness, and all these shall be added." Are we following the fool who have read multiple books and been seduced to believe what is incorrect? Are we following the imbecile who is mistakenly leading many down a path that is erroneous and wicked? Have we not asked enough questions? And do we not see what is true? And if so, O Yashar'al, why do we continue on with such an individual or individuals who promote a false narrative? Matthew 7:7 says, "And ask and it shall be given you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened to you." My brothers and sisters, what many people don't realize, it's based off the intent of an individual and their belief and their pursuit of set apartness. Just because you ask questions, just because you read a bunch of books, look at a bunch of videos, listen to things that seduce you, if you're doing all this to prop yourself up, to try to say you're somebody that you're not, one individual is almost indirectly trying to claim that he's a prophet, because he's constantly saying, they say I'm a prophet. This guy is undiscerning, unlearned, and leading many people. And there are those who support this frame of mind. Beware, O Yashar'al. And I'm giving you a good example. If we search out the scriptures, and it talks about come out of Babylon, but if we continue to search the scriptures, and we see that Mystery Babylon is wherever there is bondage, we will come to realize that the promised land that is promised to Abraham and his seed, that is promised to the set-apart children of Yahusha, those who are Hebrews and Gentiles grafted together as one, under the banner of Yashar'al. When we ask questions, we'll see that that promised land is from the Euphrates to the Nile. If we search out the scriptures, we'll see that outside the promised land, outside, not one land, anywhere outside of where Yahuah is telling us to go, is Mystery Babylon, not just the United States. And I talk about this for those who believe that the promised land is in Sub-Saharan Africa, are ill mistaken, seduced by wrong teachings, who try to push you down the path of the content and resources that they've read that seduce them into believing something that is wrong. They miss Genesis 26th chapter, verse 2, when Yahuah said, "Do not go into Mitzrayim." And Jeremiah 44:12, "Do not go into Mitzrayim, only death there." There are those who have spun a web, talking about get to the continent, invest into continent. Anything outside the promised land is Mystery Babylon, my brothers and sisters. Scriptures clearly tell us, as we will be gathered, our destination is back to the promised land. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. This message talks about questions, reasons, distractions. For we must know the 144,000 in great multitude will come together in unity. We must know it's a process that will not happen instantaneously. We must learn how to ask the questions, and when we see the things that are contradictory, when we see the things that are just propped up by man's opinion, when we see the deflection for not pursuing what is true by discerning the voice of the Almighty Father Yahuah, whose word come to us in Yahushua's name, when we neglect that, O Yashar'al, we will find ourselves on the wrong side with the wrong group for the wrong reasons, caught in distractions. Let me present these words as we begin to be more concerned of what must be done. It's a lot of talk about what's going on, but what must be done? Notice that it says in 2 Timothy chapter 2, 23 through 26. 2 Timothy chapter 2, 23 through 26 read, but refuse foolish and stupid questions, knowing that they breed quarrels. And a servant of the master should not quarrel, but be gentle towards all, able to teach, patient when wronged, in meekness instructing those who are in opposition, lest somehow the Almighty One give them repentance unto a thorough knowledge of the truth, and they come to their senses out of the snare of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his desire. My brothers and sisters, you know, in society, we're told that there's no such thing as a stupid question. And I want to say this, my brothers and sisters. There is a such thing as a stupid question. There is a such thing as an unfruitful question. And they say this because they don't want to offend anyone. But we have an obligation to seek and look for wisdom and knowledge from the Almighty Father. We have an obligation to grow in maturity in the spirit of set apartness and weigh the question before we ask the question. Sure, there will be some questions that one will perceive as a stupid question, but we must teach one another how to vet, how to identify the right questions to ask to bring about the answers that fulfill the need that we so desire to grow closer to the Almighty Father. Knowing the right questions to ask can lead to many discoveries if the mind is intent on worshiping and obeying the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Let me continue. Whether it's practical or spiritual, by specific knowledge, questions are shaped. Let us visit James chapter 4, verse 1 through 3. Come with me, Yashar'al. James 4, 1 through 3 reads, where do fightings and striving come from among you? Notice that's a question. Do they not come from your pleasures that battle in your members? Two questions. Now here's the answer. You desire and you do not have. You murder and are jealous and are unable to obtain. You strive and fight. You do not possess because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask evilly in order to spend it on your pleasures. Examine how questions were asked and there were answers. And we can ask, does the shoe fit? Does it fit us or not? Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Questions, reasons, distractions. Time is of the essence. Come, let us examine a demonstration of how questions and answers are important. Once again, I say to you, stay with me, O Yashar'al. Come with me to Luke chapter 2, verse 46 to 50. For it reads, and it came to be after 3 days they found him in the set apart place. They're talking about Yahusha, sitting in the midst of the teachers, both listening to them and asking them questions. Asking them questions. And all who heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And having seen them, they were amazed. And his mother said to him, son, why have you done this to us? See, your father and I have been anxiously seeking you. And he said to them, why were you seeking me? Did you not know that I had to be in the matters of my father? But they did not understand the word which he spoke to them. We see some questions going on. We see some answers. Was he not saying in a wise way, the question you ask is not a wise question if you knew that I was about the business of my Father? Yashar'al, there are questions. We waste time on things such as how the manifest word of Yahuwah look. In other words, what did Yahusha look like? Was he tall, short? Now make no mistake, he was a melanated man, a black man, for the scriptures inform us as such. But do we waste a lot of time on whether he was handsome or homely, whether he was tall or short, fat or skinny? You see, some questions we spend too much time in distractions. Scriptures inform us that he was a so-called black man, a melanated man. Some things we need to leave it at that and press on to discerning what he wants from us. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. How light or how dark in complexion does not matter. How tall or how short does not matter. What does matter is that we recognize him as a Hebrew man. And for those who do not espouse the word Hebrew, a Yashar'alite, although Israelite is not a Hebrew term. He was of the nation of the tribe of Yehudah. Under the banner of Yashar'al, we will see proof of such as we grow in understanding in the days ahead. My brothers and sisters, trying to determine the number of people who will be gathered for the final Exodus is not a priority. When we begin to examine the nature of the questions we pose, let us consider the reasons. For he who identifies the reason for any questions will discover whether that question produced fruitful answers or was it a rhetorical question. Even in our fellowship, as we seek to understand, there's a lot of rhetorical questions. And what I mean by that is individuals who already have purpose in their mind that they have the answer. And they're not really asking you a question for you to respond. Some rhetorical questions, if we wait, we'll hear what they have to say. And we may find ourselves in agreement. And we may find ourselves in disagreement. Beware of how we've been programmed to think there's no such thing as a stupid question. This programming was designed to prod people into asking any question that they want, consume any time that they will, and be a distraction. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. This is not a quid pro quo walk. It is a walk where we seek to discern and walk under the obedience of the Spirit of Yahuwah. The scriptures inform us to walk in the Spirit. This changes that narrative that we were taught and programmed to believe. Come with me to Ephesians 5th chapter, verses 15 to 21. I use excerpts of this 5th chapter, and it literally speaks of a relationship between a husband and a wife for the shallow-minded. But for those who go deeper, for those who want to know more, for those who thirst after righteousness, we'll know not only talk about the relationship between the husband and wife, but Yahusha's relationship to the assembly. It says, see then that you walk exactly, not as the unwise, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are wicked. So then do not be foolish, but understand what the desire of Yahuwah is. Do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to each other in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to the Master, giving thanks always for all to the Almighty One, the Father, in the name of our Master Yahushua Messiah, subjecting yourselves to each other in the fear of the Almighty One. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al. You might say, I got this from the first 2 minutes. But let me ask you, can a person present a message that fills you up such that it resonates with you and it is with you always? Or would you run with the little bit that you got and you believe it's there? Aren't we aware, if we just listen sometimes to a little bit, that the word is compared to water? It's like drinking just a little bit of glass of water, knowing good and well on this journey you're going to need more water. But he who takes a little bit and runs with it and believes, I got it, I got the whole message. You didn't need to repeat yourself, may forget the message, may not have it rooted within them, may not know the trust that the Spirit of Yahusha bring things to remembrance, as it is written in John 14:26. Never forget, my brothers and sisters, the Spirit of Yahusha dwells in us. And he works in us, through us, one towards another. I present these words to you, my brother, my sister, my family. Come with me to 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. On the matter of question, reasons, and distractions. Pray for the relevance. It says, in what union has the dwelling place of the Almighty One with idols? For you are a dwelling place of the living Almighty One, as the Almighty One has said, I shall dwell in them, walk among them, and I shall be their Almighty One, and they shall be my people. Following after distractions, consuming time. Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters, when we become fixated on things that are wrong, just because someone said they researched it or they put a lot of time and effort in, if we become fixated on that, it could be borderline idolatry, worshiping the words of an undiscerning and unlearned individual. Soon and very soon, the power and might of the Almighty Father will begin to prove what is true. But remember, some things that occur, we cannot regain the time that we spent on a matter. Colossians 3:16 say, let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing with pleasure in your heart to the Master in psalms and songs of praise and spiritual songs. Are the questions, are the reasons drawing us closer together, or are they mere distractions and entertainment, things to argue about? Come with me to Hebrews 10th chapter, my brothers and sisters. Verse 15 through 18. For it reads, and the set-apart Spirit also witnesses to us. For after having said before, this is the covenant that I shall make with them after those days, says Yahuah, giving my laws into their hearts, and in their minds I shall write them. And their sins, their lawlessness, I shall remember no more. That's a result of the shed blood, the atoning blood of his word, Yahusha. It say, now where there is forgiveness of these, there is no longer a slaughter offering for sin. For Yahusha paid the absolute price. The blood of the Lamb brings forgiveness, brings the opportunity for his word that comes, the Spirit of Yahuwah's word that comes in his name, in the name of Yahusha. When we recognize these things, we can begin to minimize the distractions. I strongly encourage each of us to determine the positions of individuals who understand how to come away from unfruitful conversations and questions, to determine the reasons for any question that might come to mind. And sometimes I would say this to you, O Yashar'al, if a person asks you a question quickly, there will be sometimes it would be best to ask, do you really want to know what I have to say in regards to your question? Or are you listening to talk to push your position of belief? Is this a rhetorical question? If it is, tell me what you believe, and I'll tell you whether I agree or not. We can have fruitful conversations, my brothers and sisters, and we can make determinations to pursue continuance with that person or come away. I strongly encourage each of us to determine the reasons for any questions that come to mind. and learn how to identify the ones that bring about discoveries when the answers come. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, my family. End times will prove the need to be focused. Let's examine how much time is spent on questions that do not have immediate needs, that are not fruitful. Beware, some are more harmful and are a mere distraction, my brothers and sisters, and consume time. Will you be caught busy in a discussion, in an argument, in a debate, when Yashar'al is on the move? Be careful, O Yashar'al. I want each of us to remember that we are instructed in the scriptures to avoid grumblings. Come with me to 1 Peter 4:9, for it says, welcome one another without grumbling. So let's get to the bottom of any questions. Let's examine the reasoning and determine whether it is distraction or beneficial. And move away. We don't need to fight or force or try to struggle to make someone believe what we believe. Come away and witness the power and might of the discipline of the Almighty Father. Bring correction. Come with me to Proverbs 29:9. Proverbs 29:9 says, when a wise man disputes with a foolish man, whether he rages or laughs, there is no peace. You see, we must be careful. There are so many scriptures informing us how to govern ourselves when it comes to being as iron sharpening iron, communicate with one another, fellowshipping with one another, speaking to one another. Come with me to Philippians chapter 2, verse 14 through 16. Philippians chapter 2, 14 through 16 says, do all matters without grumbling and disputing, in order that you be blameless and faultless, children of the Almighty One without blemish in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as light in the world, holding on to the word of life, for a boast to me in the day of Messiah, that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. Grumblings and disputing. There are people who would rather go back and forth, to push their opinion, their beliefs, their thoughts. We must learn how to say, I see no connection. I do not see the set apartness in this here narrative, in this here message, in this way of thinking. So therefore, let us part if we cannot discover unity and understanding. For the Almighty Father have appointments for nations and households that are divided against itself, an appointment that can lead to physical death. Let us come away from compromising communities, camps, fellowships, groups. Let us be as iron sharpened iron. Let us decide what questions to ask to make the discoveries that will enlighten us towards the direction we go. I submit to you, O Yashar'al, there will be individuals who will miss out due to failure to understand the amount of time needed to fulfill what is promised. Spending too much time on unfruitful debates and arguments bring distractions. Our actions can be better used than to get entangled in what is not necessary. Do you want to be one of those that say, I didn't want to offend someone? I didn't want to hurt anyone. I needed to be sensitive. Scripture say be meek. Meek means be strong to set apartness. Meek knows when to walk away. I'm not going to fuel that argument. I will walk away. That's not hollering at someone. It's just saying I'm going to walk away. I cannot stress enough the need to examine questions, discern their reasons, and avoid distractions. Don't just ask a question because you say that's what came to my head. The flesh war against the spirit. Therefore, we have an obligation to possess these earthen vessels and examine the question before we spit it out and ask ourselves, does it have solid reasoning? Will it cause a distraction? Know when to press on and move forward, O Yashar'al. Questions, reasons, distractions. If this message helped you in any way, shape, or form, grow stronger in set apartness. If this message helped you in any way, shape, or form, push you closer to growing in set apartness, discerning the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah that comes to us in the name of Yahusha, which is his word. No Trinity. Yahusha embodies the word of Yahuah, represents the word of Yahuah, and Yahuah sent his spirit in Yahusha's name. John 14:26. And so many people look over it, glaze over it. So many people struggle with scriptures because they're trying to look at it from a comprehension perspective, a reading and understanding, thinking that it's so simple. But the way we are trained to discern words and sentences differ. But it is the Spirit of the Almighty Father who teach, who comfort, who instructs, who brings unity, who brings clarity when it comes to questions, reasons, and distractions. We will see, O Yashar'al, why we must and will learn the discipline that will improve our communications with one another as we step into this manifest that will yield a great multitude in 144,000, functioning and succinct as guided by the Almighty Father's Spirit working in us, through us, as guided by his chosen leaders, his chosen guides. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, questions, reasons, and distractions. Hear these words, my brother, my sister, my family. Let us manage our communications better and know when to just walk away and trust and believe. My name is Symmanayah, and I present these words to you. My prayer is that we grow to discern the living voice of the Spirit of Yahuah that comes to us in Yahusha's name like never before. My prayer is that you are in good spirit and mind and continually encouraged to pursue what the Almighty Father wants the one in the mirror to do, what he wants us to do. And there are times of coming together, there are times of separating. He's working a work, and we will see how it will end with the unity that is promised. On that note, Yashar'al, I thank you for your patience, tolerance, and pursuit of set apartness. Stay tuned. The series continues. There's much more to be said, much more to contribute. Consider subscribing, like, share. Help the algorithm in terms of spreading the words to people who may not be aware of this channel. Spread the word. They may learn something from the messages that I present, that they share with you, that help you in a time of need. Sometimes we can be helping ourselves and don't know it, as the Almighty Father lay it out. For remember, he works in us, through us, one towards another. Enough said. I say to you, O Yashar'al, end times are here. Be encouraged. Our redemption draws near. Shalum. Shalom, my brother, my sister, my family.